What's up, nerds? It's your boy. It's 9:30 in the morning. Here live at bed. What am I saying? What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, broadcasting live from Site B here on a small island off the coast of Costa Rica. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. It's the 18th day of December, and the OGL 2.0 Psychic Wars continue. We have more news from the never-ending trash fire that is Wizards of the Coast, OGL 2.0, and the future of our beloved hobby. We have some more insider leaks that, again, the staff at Wizards of the Coast and D&D Beyond are not happy. They are all operating under a don't talk threat. Apparently, several of them are concerned that if they speak up, they will be terminated. Wizards of the Coast has already announced they will be hiring a brand new creative lead for D&D, which pretty much means either Crawford or Perkins might be replaced, or maybe Greg, but more likely Crawford or Perkins. They've got at least 30 positions that they're looking to possibly replace. So, of course, the big concern coming out of the Wizards of the Coast is that if anybody steps up and says, I think this is a dumb idea, they could risk losing their job. This is, of course, in response to these leaks that have all but been confirmed by several individuals that come from some source in Wizards of the Coast. So hats off to the individuals who are brave enough to risk their career to get that stuff out to us in the chunks that we're getting it. In response to this, of course, several companies around the world went, yep, no, we're not going to take it, and have quit their association with D&D, Wizards of the Coast, OGL, have claimed they are not going to be making any more product for 5e, 6e, OGL, D&D, that they will continue to support it through various other ways. And several companies have come forward and said, yes, we're going to make our own. The biggest, of course, Paizo. Paizo said, come to us. We will make another OSR, OGL. We'll call it ORC, but of course, it's Paizo, which means there is the concern that it will include Paizo's current political leanings, and it will have a inclusion/censorship clause. But several companies are jumping on to the Paizo/ORC, including Traveler. Modifius has announced that they will be moving away from the open game license that they've been making Traveler under and adopting the new ORC. So Mongoose, who currently has Traveler, have said that they are not going to be using their own SRD, but instead using something else, using the ORC one, which I don't know why, because the Traveler system is fine. It uses D6s, or at least it used to. I don't know what it uses anymore. You would have to go over to Schoner's site. He is the expert on all things Traveler. I haven't played Travelers in years, so I don't know what system it uses anymore, but I didn't think it fell under the OGL, but I guess it did. So they are going to be switching over to the Paizo OGL new system, whatever it is. I don't know if it's going to be a D20 system. I don't know if it's going to be some variation of Pathfinder, or it's going to be its own beast. We don't know what the actual ORC mechanics, if any, are going to look like. But not to be outdone, Free League Publishing has also announced they're making not one, but two open licenses. Again, I don't know why they need one, because let's get my copy of Tales from the Loop here and look in the back to see if it has the OGL. And no, it doesn't. Yeah, all this in the back is the thank yous, the character record sheet, and the index. So they didn't use the OGL, so I'm not sure why they are making a new one, because the Mutant Year Zero system is fine. So I guess they're maybe just either changing the Mutant Year Zero system or making the Mutant Year Zero system open for people to create third-party stuff. I wasn't aware it wasn't. But anyways, yes, the Year Zero engine is in Mutant Year Zero, Coriolis, Tales from the Loop, Forbidden Lands, Alien, Vossen, Blade Runner, and the Walking Dead universe. So they're going to make that open source. And they're also coming up with a second open source for Dragonbane. Dragonbane is, of course, the Kickstarter / Swedish version of D&D that came out of Europe, Sweden, used a completely different system, vaguely inspired by D&D, but also completely different. They got the rights to it. They repackaged it, redid it, and now they're releasing a system so creators can make supplements for Dragonbane. So they'll have two separate third-party licenses, one for all the stuff that falls under Mutant Year Zero, and one that for all the stuff that falls under Dragonbane. So Dragonbane is going to be its own separate thing, while the Mutant Year Zero timeline will still be its own thing. Of course, there is the conspiracy theory that there is a continuous timeline through the Free League stuff. We got Tales from the Loop leads to Twilight 2000. Twilight 2000 leads in to Mutant Year Zero, and Forbidden Lands could be the fantasy, or Vossen could be the fantasy that leads to Tales from the Loop. Now, the Walking Dead universe completely separate. There's also, that vague old, rumor that the Alien universe and the Blade Runner universe were the same universe. I don't remember if it remembers that one, but yeah. So these guys are making their own. So that's big. Now, of course, one of the biggest news out of the OGL thing was the amount of people who stood up and said, and of course, the mass canceling of D&D Beyond accounts. Current count, 50,000 and rising accounts have been canceled since the original cancel D&D, cancel your D&D Beyond, boycott the movie stuff has come out. And that led to a lot of unexpected individuals stepping forward and saying, yeah, no, I'm doing this. And one of the major names, which nobody expected, but glad to see that they did it, was our friend, Miss Gini D. So Gini posted a very short, heartfelt video, earned a little bit of respect from me. I mean, I've always respected her a little, even though she has talked crap about us more than once. But, she's made a career out of this. She makes a lot of people's lives happy. She's got an amazing fan base. And, so sure, she's found her niche, and she made her niche what it is, and she made a career out of her niche. I don't always, 90% of the time, don't agree with the stuff that has come out of her mouth in the past, but I respect the fact that she went out and did it. She was one of the big names that came forward and said, don't do this, Wizards of the Coast. She posted a very short, sweet, concise video where she basically said, look, I'm not the person to talk about this. Let me point you to people who have done a job about it. And I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm against this. So this came as a big surprise that she would do this. So let's watch her video and see what we think.
Spent the last week and a half changing my mind every 12 seconds about whether or not I want to make a video about the OGL. There are two wolves inside of me, and one feels like others have already made great videos and their work does not need to be poorly replicated by me, but the other worries that I'm not doing my duty to my community if I don't do everything I can to keep you informed. So in my best effort to negotiate between those two wolves, I would like to point you to some videos that are smarter and more comprehensive than anything I would have made on my own. First, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, or if you just want a clear review of everything going on with the Wizards of the Coast Open Gaming License, watch this video first from my friend Mark Humes. He explains everything so far and also adds some very thoughtful and personal commentary that pretty accurately reflects my own feelings. Then chase it with this video from Mike Shea of Sly Flourish. It's shorter, rightfully angrier, but equally shrewd and with some really good insight into the industry and what Wizards actually wants out of this fiasco. If you want more understanding of the legal complexities of the situation, everyone is recommending this Legal Eagle video, which is fine, but please take it with a grain of salt since it lacks the in-depth understanding of the third-party D&D industry necessary to make it truly complete. Kelly from Dungeon Dudes had a great Twitter thread about why the Legal Eagle video is a little incomplete, and I will link it in the description. And if you're about to tell me to chill because Wizards has already apologized and is walking all this back, I think this video from D&D Shorts is a good explanation of why we shouldn't trust a single thing Wizards says until it is codified in legally binding language. So what do we do now? Unfortunately, until they release the new OGL, we're still kind of trapped in limbo. This article from Linda Codega, linked in the description, says that insider sources at Wizards cite last week's wave of D&D Beyond cancellations as the only reason they even made a public statement at all. So I think we need to keep putting the pressure on.
Yes, we do.
Their language, that is, money, and continuing to cancel those subscriptions to show that we are not going to just forget about this and go back to normal. As far as what I'm going to do, I'm still figuring that out.
Please don't
take
bend
this
a knee.
month off to plan for the year, and instead the last 2 weeks have just upended every plan I had. So you're just going to have to be patient with me as I reevaluate everything about my career.
And she looks explicitly upset. So that feels real and heartfelt from her. And she really seems to care about her community. And she really is concerned about how this is going to affect her. Of course, the question is, that's dangling there is, if they present Gini with a separate contract, will she turn back and continue supporting them? If, the new OGL is codified in such a way that she feels she can still stay loyal to Wizards of the Coast, will she then, backtrack and say, no, I've gone back and I'm all for 6E OGL 2.0? That is the concern. Now, Gini D was one of the many individuals who I said, I really hope they say something, because the OGL 2.0 not just only affects her, but it affects her fan base. And, Gini D has made a large portion of her career out of D&D inspired music videos, D&D inspired skit, and D&D inspired cosplay, and D&D inspired art. And her very large 4,580 subscribers also have made careers out of D&D inspired art, D&D inspired literature, D&D inspired cosplay, D&D inspired songs, D&D inspired, videos, stuff like that. And of course, Wizards of the Coast said in the original OGL leak, people will not be able to do that anymore. They have since, of course, backpedaled and said, oh yeah, you can still do that as long as we get our percentage. But if Gini wants to dress up like a half elf, we'll say it's okay. But still, basically, they're saying, no, you can't do any home brewing unless we say it's okay and you pay the maximum amount of money on D&D Beyond. Now we have another individual. She said go to Mark Holmes. So here is Mark Holmes' video. Gini's was under 3 minutes. Mark's is almost 40 minutes. Now, he does go into his own personal history and his own personal thing, and it's very my thoughts. This is very much centered on him as opposed to Gini's, which is centered on her communities. And he goes into a lot of stuff about his personal relationship and stuff. And he does give some misinformation. So I'm not going to go to 30 minutes. Now, obviously, if you know me well enough to know of the individuals in the 5e category, with one or two exceptions, this is the individual I have the least amount of respect for. This is a man who, when I was talking to him several years ago about role-playing and starting the role-playing videos, and he was one of the many individuals I reached out to, he basically told me more than once that there was absolutely no reason to play any other game other than 5th edition. He would never play any other game other than 5th edition, and anybody who played other games was a jerk. Now, also, there's some other stuff, conspiracies and conflict and situations that relate to Mark Holmes and his relationship with the Yogcast and stuff he has said in the past, but that's never been confirmed. And I don't know enough about that to comment on it. But yeah, this guy has always seemed to be very much a just somebody I don't really respect. And the fact that he takes him 30 minutes to say what Gini did say it in 2, but he did say it. And he did say that, he wants the community to stand up and be noticed, and that what Wizards of the Coast is doing wrong. And he has shilled for Wizards of the Coast since day one, including making his own version of Critical Role with High Rollers. And he's been on Critical Role. He has a connection with them. So, he is a voice that speaks out to 39,000 subscribers about 5e. And he is very much also talk about it. He goes into depth of the history of the OGL from day one and today. Wizards, he makes some comments that are on the nose. He makes some comments that are incorrect. Mostly it's basically his personal connection to Wizards of the Coast and D&D. And the situation and how he's going to react. But again, the question, Ray, is if Wizards of the Coast comes to you and offers you a sweetheart deal, Mark, will you accept it? If Wizards of the Coast presents you with the new codified 2.0 that makes 6e look like something you can get behind, will you accept it? Will you be okay with the fact that Wizards of the Coast is going to go after your 39,000 fans and say you can't do D&D art, you can't do D&D music, you can't do D&D cosplay, anything homebrew you put on D&D Beyond and the VTT becomes ours. You got to pay the $30 a month fee to get the maximum output Mark's fans. So again, this is another individual who we're going to look at and go, okay, what are you going to do? Finally, we're still waiting to hear from Critical Role. And as of today, Critical Role still hasn't said anything about what they're going to do with the OGL. And I think most of us are waiting to see what they're going to do. They've hinted at things, but they're not going to do anything until all their own NDAs and contracts and everything. Now, I have discussed this in length. If I think Critical Role will take a Nahh, or if they will make their own game, everything I can think of points to them breaking off from the umbilical cord and making their own thing. I can't think of any reason why they would stay loyal, because there's no deal that Wizards of the Coast could offer them that they don't already have a better deal between Amazon and the stuff that they've made for their own. So unless they can outbid Amazon. Gini D stomping feet will cease as soon as she gets a deal that benefits her. That is the concern. Will she stick to her words if A, she's offered a sweetheart deal under the counter from Wizards, or B, Wizards of the Coast codifies 6E in such a way that she's okay with it, even though it means her fan base is screwed over. And if she does, take a knee and says, yes, Wizards of the Coast, I will continue to suckle at your teat, it shows what she really thinks of her fans, because, sure, she'll get the deal from Wizards of the Coast, but her fans, the 42,000, people who have supported her all these years, are going to be the ones who are going, hey, you can't do that cosplay anymore. Hey, you can't homebrew on D&D Beyond anymore unless you pay us the $30 a month. And hey, you have to total a line, and we get a percentage of any money you make off of your Etsy. So if she does, total the line, she's showing what she really thinks of her fan base. So yeah, that is a concern. Mark Holmes, on the other hand, I think he will. It would surprise me if he stays angry at Wizards of the Coast. He is such a huge Wizards of the Coast. But that's my personal opinion of Mark Holmes. Don't listen to me. I don't want anybody to saying I'm defaming Mark Holmes. I have my personal opinion of him based upon my connection with him and what I know about him, but you might think he's a wonderful human being, so that's okay. If you appreciate what Mark Holmes and Gini do and they bring you joy, great. Just remember that they are business people first and foremost, and playing D&D and talking about D&D is their job. And at the end of the day, will they stay loyal to their fans? Will they stay loyal to their pocket? Will they keep saying what they're saying? We don't know. We hope that they do, because they are huge voices in the wilderness of 5e, 6e. But yeah. Don't trust anyone who grooms their eyebrows. Yes, Mr. Holmes has always been very concerned by his personal appearance. He's gone through the green hair phase. He's gone through the flock of seagulls phase. So yeah, I don't trust anybody who tells me on more than one occasion that they will never play any other game other than 5e, and there's absolutely no reason to buy any other game other than 5e. These are things he said to me. And then, 2 weeks later, he's doing a live stream of a completely different game. So yeah, just for that alone. But as a toxic brand, yes, I think D&D Wizards of the Coast is a toxic brand. Now we have to go to the very shallow end of what's left of the 5e pool for some of the more ridiculous comments that have come out of this in regards to the whole OGL thing. So as you know, there was the mass exodus from D&D Beyond. 50,000 and counting subs canceled. So much so that we crashed D&D Beyond not once, but twice. Of course, Wizards of the Coast is claiming that's not what happened. There was a server issue, which is why they had to take down D&D Beyond and do a hot fix. You will notice, though, that the cancel my subscription option is gone from the accounts. You have to go through a weird back door if you want to still cancel your subscription. So you actually have to do 10 seconds of work to find the way to cancel. Now, thankfully, D&D Shorts and several other individuals have made that leak available, so you don't have to do the work. You can just go and either do the back doors, exploring to find how you cancel. It's still there. It's just not as easy to find. So because of the 50,000 and counting max exodus, one of the comments that has been related to me from somebody else that somebody said was, oh, well, if you idiots cancel your D&D Beyond subscriptions, how are you going to know what Wizards of the Coast is doing? Because apparently this individual thinks that the only way we get information is from D&D Beyond, and that, you know, there's not 10,000 other trades out there and individuals out there who get the information, and that there's leaks. And yeah, that's the only way to get information regarding D&D is if you maintain your D&D Beyond subscription. And if you cancel your D&D Beyond subscription, you have no way of knowing what Wizards of the Coast is doing, even though Wizards of the Coast puts out announcements. So yeah. And then another one is the individuals who are, of course, comparing this to the Satanic Panic, which is, it's completely different. You know, or the whole racist thing. The Satanic Panic was outsiders coming against us. And it was, you know, spearheaded by the news and the moral majority. And you know, it was 2 or 3, 4 years of just awfulness. It you know, it forced the tabletop role-playing game community to unite. It forced the tabletop role-playing game community to go underground. It forced the tabletop role-playing game community to become much more organized to combat this. But the Satanic Panic was outside looking in. Outsiders who had no idea how the hobby worked attacking us. The inclusion thing and the OG is insiders attacking us. People who are claimed to be connected to the hobby, who are attacking people within the hobby. And this is OGL, Wizards of the Coast, attacking the hobby. So you really can't compare the two. The Satanic Panic came from the outside, going in, hey, it's Biggest Geek. It's the only place that I will ever put any of my product. My product will never appear on Drive-Thru or Lulu. It will only ever be on Biggest Geekest. I am 100% support these guys. All my little pieces of crap product will only ever be on there. Of course, I had to take it all down because of this OGL shit. I am re-editing it, rewriting it, expanding it, and re-releasing it starting today. So thanks, Biggest Geekest, for being out there. I totally support you guys. And thanks for letting me post my crap on your little shop. How will we ever get Wizards of the Coast news? I don't know. It's not like Wizards of the Coast announces it. It's not like, you know, we have YouTubers like me and Tankers and Taverns and stuff like that. But where do we get our news if we don't go to OG, you know, D&D Beyond? I don't know where we get our news. From Wizards of the Coast, from Gizmodo, from EN World, from the Polyhedron, from CNBC. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah. Nobody's been physically hurt yet in regards to this nonsense. People were physically hurt during the Satanic Panic. People's lives. I mean, I remember waking up one morning in Studio City, California. I mean, you know, you don't get much more liberal than living in the Studio City in Southern California, where you're literally within walking distance of CBS, NBC, and Universal. Waking up one morning to find a cross burning on my lawn because somebody in my neighborhood found out I played D&D and thought I was a devil worshiper, so lit a cross on our lawn. Yeah. Now, during the whole 5E purple hair thing, some people were physically accosted. There were a lot of death threats and a lot of stuff. Doing this OGL thing, people are threatening us, of course. And of course, people have threatened members of the staff of Wizards of the Coast. Please do not threaten, harass Wizards of the Coast staff. They, from what I understand, are pretty much against this, but also they have been told that if you speak up, because of the leaks, they're violating their NDAs and could lose their jobs. So don't death threat anybody who works at Wizards of the Coast. They're just cogs in the machine. The people who are responsible are much more higher up than them. Let's see. What kind of future guidance does WOTC give at their quarterly earnings call? When does Q1 end? March, I believe. Yeah, we won't have, we can take what pride in the 50,000 subs that we cost them and how much ever money we've cost them, but we really will not know till Q1, Q2. Yeah, Satanic Panic caused strife inside families. The OGL thing is the inside attacking out. Satanic Panic was the out attacking in. The inclusion thing, similar to the Satanic Panic. I mean, definitely there were times when I was concerned about my physical well-being during the whole inclusion Critical Role thing. You've heard my stories about the Critical Role and the toxic fan base on more than one occasion, and the toxicity within the 5e crowd. So you know what? I am not the best person to talk about this, because I'm all for 5e dying, and I'm all for Critical Role finally stepping up and say, we take responsibility for this, for the atmosphere we've created. We're ending our association with Wizards of the Coast, and we're going forward, because first and foremost, we are an entertainment company, and we cannot continue to support Wizards of the Coast since they're going after our fan base and our money. And of course, if Critical Role decides to stay loyal to Wizards of the Coast, and again, with the same with Gini D and Mark Holmes, they're showing their fans what they really think about them. I don't think Critical Role will. I'm not sure about Gini D. I don't think she will, but it depends on the deal that Wizards of the Coast offers her. Mark Holmes, he'll probably, I don't know, my personal opinion. But again, don't come after me, Mark Holmes, because this is just my opinion of you, and the rest of the world, don't listen to me. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's not unusual. There were, for every place, for every 10 places that was going after us, there was one place that was supporting us. My high school had a D&D club during the Satanic Panic, stuff like that. 3 separate attacks in the hobby with difference yet similarities. Except the Wizards of the Coast one, the OGL one, is coming from the inside going out. The other 2 are from the outside coming in. I think that's why the Wizards of the Coast one hurts more in some ways. Growing up as a D&D kid, I was used to being bullied by the outsiders. So just another group of people bullying me because I played D&D. I mean, at least I was a cool Satan worshiper for a bit. This whole the 5e Critical Role, inclusion, racism thing, again, the outside attacking me for, attacking us for supporting a hobby that was 100% inclusive, and calling us words that were completely incorrect, and, misrepresenting us and spreading just falsehoods, which led to a lot of ugliness. But again, it was the outside attacking in. Wizards of the Coast OGL nonsense is the inside attacking out. So yeah, you can't really compare it to the Satanic Panic, and anybody who is just spitballing to try and get relevance or whatever. What's going to happen next? Well, I've made my predictions. You've heard them. If you want to hear them again, Crawford's gone, Perkins is gone. Hasbro sells Wizards of the Coast by 2027. OGL 2.0 gets slid under the door through some more smoke and mirrors, while Wizards of the Coast tries to distract us with another controversy, probably with either the book that's coming out or the next book after that one. 5e gone. They've literally said 5e gone, 3e gone. 4e is weird because it sort of exists in its own little sub-universe. And you've never heard anybody mention 4E doing this whole thing, because 4E fell under a completely different thing than the, OGL's 3, 3.5, and 5. 4 is like in its own little bubble. So, but yeah, Wizards is not going to support 4 anymore. They'll not support 3 anymore. I mean, sure, if they can still make money off of it, they'll probably find ways to make money off of it. And they're not going to support 5. 5 is gone because 5 falls under OGL 1.0. So that whole backwards compatibility BS gone. 6E will be out sometime next year, probably June. They're counting on making at least 500 million off of the D&D movie and making at least a million new D&D fans. 500 million off the movie, but people might be saying, oh, that's great. But really, no, box office wise, that's not a lot of money. While they might make a million new fans, they're not going to make a million new players. They'll make a million new people who go out and buy D&D toys and D&D action figures. But yeah, you're not going to get a bunch of new people going, I want to play D&D because of this movie. No. If anything, you're going to get more people going, I don't want to play D&D anymore because of this movie. So yeah, boycott Honor Amongst Thieves. Boycott D&D Beyond. Boycott Wizards of the Coast. Do not get distracted. I see people are already going, oh, the safety tools thing is again. So let's get angry at those people. That's exactly what Wizards of the Coast wants. They want us to get distracted. They want us to get separated again. They want us to start attacking each other again. They want our attention to be diverted to the latest shiny thing, which I guess is safety tools. And in exchange for that, they're just going to slide the new OGL before we can do anything. So do not get distracted. This is one of the most important things that's happened to the gaming industry in a long time. And it affects the entire world of the hobby, not just us in our small little safety bubble that is the United States. You know, it affects the entire hobby. And yeah, that's huge. At least I think it is. I know. I'm an idiot. 60 face plants and 5e lives on. The world's social media is too big for the OTC to stamp it out everywhere across the world. Yeah, 6e, I don't know. I don't see it doing well. I mean, I think people just play 5e. Yes. The pandemic, of course, made D&D way more popular. I mean, Critical Role, Stranger Things. But yeah, if we hadn't had the pandemic, we would have D&D where it is now. Blah. 5e in some form will continue because it's already out there. You can't take it away. People who have the books have the books. I'm perfectly happy if 5e, it was never play or run 5e again. It was easy. It was fun. It was never D&D. The only thing it really brought to the table that was new and different was stat-based saving throws, which of course they stole from Castles and Crusades, and advantage and disadvantage. The only thing I could walk away from 5e that I think is something I'd keep, advantage and disadvantage. Other than that, yeah, Plus, of course, my own personal connection with the toxicity of the Critical Role 5e community that I've gone through, still going through to this day, makes it like, yeah, never going to be 100% on the 5e bandwagon. Yeah. Well, that's it. If anybody else got anything they want to talk about regarding the tabletop role-playing game OGL news, let me know. What are your predictions for 2023-2024? Will Critical Role finally come forward? Will Gini D stay loyal to her fan base? Will Mark Holmes stay loyal to his fan base? Will anybody stay loyal to me and help me reach 1 billion subs? If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you're looking for amazing ways to support me, you can, of course, subscribe to my Patreon. You can buy me a coffee through the Ko-Fi. You can do the super chats, which I still don't know how it works. And, of course, the best way to support the OGGM is to buy my merch. We've got all the amazing stickers down in my YouTube store down below. And we have, of course, all my stuff on Big Geek Emporium, which will be going up any minute, because I finally got it back from the my editor. Okay, there's a new announcement. What is it? Show us on the doll where the 5e system hurt you. You've heard my story. More than once I've talked about, the toxicity of the 5e fan base and how it's affected me directly and indirectly. So yeah, I don't think you need to hear the story again. that's it. I'm sure we will have more news from the OGL camp before the day is over. I'm waiting for the electrician to come by and fix my oven. He was supposed to be here an hour ago, but he hasn't yet. So till next time, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful spring weather before the next round of winter hits us. And above all, get off my land. I will talk to you all later. Have a great day.